Hello and welcome to the first full Fandom Force podcast presented by Future of the Force. I'm your host Sam.
Hi, I'm Phil. I'm the co-owner and co-editor-in-chief of futureoftheforce.com.
And I'm Kat. I am editor at Future of the Force as well.
I'll be there for you. Cassian said I had to.
Okay, so today we are going to be talking all the trailers that have been released this week, Jurassic World, and looking at some of the Star Wars controversies. So we'll start off with the Bumblebee trailer.
I won't hurt you. What's your name?
I personally loved it. I wasn't expecting myself to enjoy this because I haven't particularly enjoyed the last couple of Transformers films. I think that the way that Bumblebee transforms in this one looks much better than the last Transformers. The actress, but I can't remember her name, I thought she looked really good in it. I recently watched Edge of 17 and she was amazing in that. So I've actually got high hopes for this film now, even though I had absolutely zero going into the trailer. So what did you think of it, Kat?
Yeah, I haven't seen a Transformers film in ages. I have not kept up with the franchise at all, but watching this trailer, I am super into it, and I did not expect this from myself at all. My friend mentioned that there was like a coming-of-age vibe in it, and I was like, that seems ridiculous. It's Transformers. And then I come and I watch the trailer, and it's phenomenal. I am actually really excited. I think the actress's name is Haley Steinfeld.
Oh, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, and I think she's going to be a really great choice for this.
I've got mixed reactions, to be honest. I mean, I've been a Transformers fan ever since the mid-'80s when I was growing up, and Transformers the movie Gen 1 was fantastic with the original Optimus Prime and that sort of thing. But like Kat, I mean, I quite enjoyed the first one, except when they killed off Jazz right in the end when Megatron ripped him in half. I was a little bit upset with that because Jazz was one of my favourite characters, voiced by Skepman Carruthers back in the day. After the second one, it really started to go downhill for me. And the third one, Dark of the Moon, was tedious.
Yeah.
Age of Extinction, I was hoping for something really good when they introduced the Dinobots, but as usual with Michael Bay, he absolutely destroys all of the best characters in the Transformers universe. And then with the last one, the last night, I was lucky enough to see a sneak preview of that, and it looked good because obviously it's the first film ever to be shot exclusively in IMAX, and it looked amazing. But unfortunately, then they got hold of vintage characters like Hot Rod and changed them to French, and again tampered with so many great characters. It lost its way for me. Whereas Bumblebee, again, mixed reactions. I mean, I was actually hoping for a bit of a soft reboot of the franchise and go a bit more original, back to the old school. So I was a little bit disappointed with the transformation. I'm delighted that we're actually getting a decent Bumblebee movie because it does look very good. It seems to be breaking free of the chains of the Michael Bay franchise to a degree, but not all the way as much as I'd like. And obviously having John Cena involved is not going up in my plus column, I'm afraid. I'm not a big John Cena fan, so that's always rings alarm bells with me. So yeah, I've got mixed hopes. High hopes, but mixed.
There's a few things in there that I would have chosen not to have in there. So, like you say, John Cena, not a big fan myself. No. But yeah, I think you're right that the Transformers franchise did go downhill after that first one. So hopefully this will break free of that and deliver a nice change from what we've been subjected to for the last few films.
We shall go into December with our fingers firmly crossed.
Absolutely. So the next trailer that came out this week was the Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Hi. Whoa, ladies, I'm a princess too.
What kind of a princess are you?
Do you have magic hair? No.
Magic hands?
No.
Do animals talk to you?
No.
Were you poisoned?
No.
Cursed?
No.
Kidnapped or enslaved?
No. Are you guys okay? Should I call the police?
Do people assume all your problems got solved because a big, strong man showed up?
Yes. What is up with that?
She is a princess.
Oh, yes.
Kat, what did you think of this?
So, to be honest, I haven't seen the first Wreck-It Ralph. I don't keep up with animated movies as well as I should, but I really enjoyed this trailer. And okay, so I have mixed feelings about the Disney monopoly that's in Hollywood right now, right? I think them owning and acquiring all of these, smaller companies is kind of a problem logistically. But I think we can really see the benefits of them owning all of these franchises in this trailer. You know, seeing the Disney princesses in there, seeing the Star Wars, like some stormtroopers in there, all of it together. Like, man, maybe it's not such a bad thing after all, you know? I'm excited to go see this one, and I'll catch up with the first one first.
I can only echo the sentiments of Kat. I mean, I thought it was hilarious, to be fair. I mean, I love the Star Wars references with the First Order stormtroopers. I love the fact that they go into the internet and the TIE fighters are flying around being chased by X-Wings. And then obviously, for my wife's sake, Winnie the Pooh and Eeyore pop up in there as well. And then she pops into a room full of Disney princesses, and I think the rapport between all of them is hilarious. I love that. You're not a true princess. You're not a true princess. Wait a minute. Are you oppressed by males? Yes. Oh, she is a princess. It's like, the punchlines are hilarious. So I'm looking forward to this one as well.
Yeah. I thought exactly the same. It was a sequel that I didn't think needed to be made. But after watching the trailer, I am so excited for it. And like you say, Kat, the Disney monopoly is paying off. This almost feels like Disney's response to Ready Player One. Just having so many different pop culture references in there. I think, I think we've only touched the surface with the trailer. I think there's going to be a lot more in the actual film. So yeah, it looks like it could be quite an exciting watch. And like you say, Phil, it's absolutely hilarious with all the princesses in that room. So I hope to see a little bit more of that in the film as well.
So we have to scrutinise every inch of the screen for Easter eggs when we come out.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's half the fun.
So moving on to the Lego movie trailer.
A lifetime has passed since the horrific events of Taco Tuesday. Our lives descended into chaos. This new life has toughened and hardened us all.
2 coffees, please. 1 black, 1 with just a touch of cream and 25 sugars.
Phil, what were your thoughts on this one?
I quite liked it, to be honest. I mean, the first one was hilarious for me. I mean, especially when the Millennium Falcon turned up from Star Wars and Han was flying it with Lando in the back. I mean, for me, that's enough to make me put a smile on my face. So I was delighted with it. The only thing that I found with the original is that after a while, it's got a limited shelf life. When I went into the Lego Batman movie, I had the same kind of vibe. I enjoyed it first time round, but every time beyond that, I've sat down and watched it. I've liked it less and less. So I've got a bit of a mixed review for it, really. So I'm hopeful for the Lego Movie 2, but I'm not going to hold my breath that it's going to be a blockbuster or an Oscar winner by any shape or form. I'm hopeful.
Oh, absolutely. Kat, what do you think?
So I have seen the first Lego movie, just in case you think that I don't watch movies, because all I do is watch movies. But I really enjoyed the first one. I thought it was really cute for a kids movie, and I think this one looks to be on par with it. I'm a big fan of Emmett and his just boundless positivity. I think that's something that I'd like to see more of, because I find myself being a really positive person, and so I think he's super cute and super refreshing. And I'm excited to go to space. Space is my absolute favorite place, so I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I echo what you guys were saying, that it does, it looks fun, very much in the vein of the first movie and the Lego Batman movie. I was least keen on this trailer this week, purely because I think that there just seems to be sequels to everything at the moment, and we never get standalone films anymore. As soon as a film does well, it's right, we're going to make a second one of that. But I did like the tweet that Phil Lord put out. I don't know if you saw this. Put out a tweet about them making a space film, and then released the trailer with that as well. So I thought that was quite good.
Yeah, nice little comeback there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lucasfilm?
But yeah, I think after saying that, I'm almost guaranteed that I will enjoy this film. I just think that they maybe could have gone in a different direction with it. But again, it does look fun, so fingers crossed again.
I mean, they'd done the Lego Ninjago movie last year, didn't they? But obviously that didn't break the box office anyway, but it made its money back. But I think this one was a case of playing safe.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think the Ninjago is obviously aimed towards that specific fan base, and I don't believe that they ever made that thinking that they were going to get a huge amount of new fans to that property. I think that they knew that they were targeting their fans with that. So yeah, I think, like you say, it's playing safe, but it should be a good watch.
Let's hope so. I mean, Chris Pratt seems to be the golden man of Hollywood right now, so why not?
Absolutely. So, going into the final trailer that we're going to talk about this week, Into the Spider-Verse.
How am I supposed to save the whole world?
You can't think about saving the world. You have to think about saving one person.
One thing I know for sure, don't do it like me. Do it like you.
This looks incredible. Like, the visuals of this are incredible. I have absolutely zero grasp on what the actual story is. I'm assuming it's just Miles Morales' meeting up with Peter Parker. So I'm still not sure on the story, but the visuals are enough to hook me into this film and get me excited about it. Kat, what did you think?
Oh, I totally agree. The animation looks gorgeous. The Miles Morales storyline is something that I know a lot of people have wanted for a long time, and I think it's a really important one. And I think there are going to be some people out there that are disappointed that it's not adapted into a live action Spider-Man, especially because it seemed like some aspects of it were cherry picked for Homecoming, but not all of the aspects. But I think this animated one looks phenomenal, and I am not too informed on the subject material other than knowing a moderate amount about the Marvel Universe, being a super fan. But Spider-Man isn't my area of expertise. But I think this will be a really cool entry into a non-616 universe storyline for Marvel, because we really haven't had one before.
Oh, I'm the same. I think it looks amazing. I mean, the special effects and the animation alone, they're fantastic. I mean, just the sequence with Miles Morales going into school with his father in the police car.
Yeah, that was amazing.
The background of that is just breathtaking. It really is. For animation, you have to hold your hands up and say, wow, you've done really well. So, I'm quite excited. I mean, now Miles Morales came on the scene in 2011. It was a great start. I mean, a lot of people wanted Miles Morales to join the Avengers instead of Peter Parker. And obviously when Spider-Man Homecoming was announced, a lot of people were a little bit taken aback by Miles Morales' omission from it. Mm-hmm. And I think this is more along the lines of to appease those fans, to give them an animated movie to say at least Miles Morales is in the mix. And obviously being the extended Marvel Universe, it's going to be great as well, because the crossover with Peter Parker happily cheer up so many people. And the fact that they're bringing Gwen Stacy in there as well as Gwen Stacy Spider is going to be incredible too. So it's ultimate possibilities now. You can have so many Spider-Men in different universes, different Marvel mindsets. It's going to be incredible. It's so exciting. So yeah, it looks good for me. Just on visuals alone, it's breathtaking.
Yeah. Do you think they're dipping their toes in the water a little bit with this one? Do you think they are eventually looking towards doing a live-action Miles Morales film?
You could be right. Yeah, it depends how long shelf life that Peter Parker has in the Marvel Universe. But on the other hand, with Venom coming up in October, that's an extended Marvel Universe. It's not the same universe, even though Spider-Man's going to be making a rumored cameo appearance. But Venom is not actually in the same universe. It's kind of like just a slightly adjunct universe. So if that's the case, there's no reason why Miles Morales can't appear in a Venom movie, or a sequel to the Venom movie, or possibly Carnage. So there is plenty of manoeuvring room for them to do so. So if they want to, they can do it.
Yeah, and I think from seeing the when they were casting the new Spider-Man after Andrew Garfield, I know that there was a huge movement to try and get Donald Glover in as Miles Morales. So I think the fan base is there, and I think the fan base want that film. So I don't think it would be too much of a risk, like you say, to maybe put him into a possible Venom sequel, or maybe even a cameo in this Venom film.
Yeah, I can really see that happening, to be honest. And it's there've been rumours about Tom Holland popping up for a while, but if it is as an adjunct universe, Miles Morales would be the perfect fit.
And actually, in Homecoming, Donald Glover apparently plays his uncle, right? Because he mentions that he has a nephew.
Yeah.
He plays a crook trying to break into a car.
Yeah. At the end, he calls his nephew up.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So apparently his nephew is Miles Morales. I think they dropped that in as a little Easter egg. So you never know. Might end up in the MCU as well. If you could only see one of these films, which one would it be?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'll probably go with Spider-Man if it was me. because I love a good Spider-Man film, so probably Spider-Man. But on the other hand, Bumblebee is appealing, so tough one.
It
Tough
is a
one.
tricky decision.
That's the exact order that I'm going into. I think I'd pick Into the Spider-Verse first, just because it looks visually stunning and I'm excited. But I think Bumblebee is a close second for me.
Yeah, I completely agree with both of you. I think Into the Spider-Verse does look, it looks beautiful. And unlike you, Kat, I love an animated film, so I cannot wait for that one. So that would definitely be top of my list.
I know it's complicated. You want to know what happened to you? I can teach you to be Spider-Man.
I think you're going to be a bad teacher.
Right, Kat, I don't know if you want to mute this. I'm sure that we will avoid spoilers, so hopefully you won't have to. But we are going to talk Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
If I don't make it back, remember you're the one who made me come here. I'll be all right.
It came out in the UK on Wednesday this week, and both myself and Phil have had a chance to go and see it. We have touched base very briefly about our thoughts on the film, so I think, knowing how you felt about it, Phil, I will hand over to you just to give us a quick thought of what you thought of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Right. Obviously, seeing it last night, I enjoyed most of it. There are a lot of elements and a lot of loopholes which I'm not happy with. There are a lot of things omitted from the script that should be addressed from all the past 4 movies beforehand. And unfortunately, coming away from it, I took it on a premise that it's more like a Rise of the Planet of the Apes kind of film, and not in the spirit of Jurassic Park. Unfortunately, with Jurassic Park, you have an artistic poetry that goes with the franchise that's been instilled by Steven Spielberg from 1993, and sadly I found that sorely lacking in Fallen Kingdom. Unfortunately, I didn't have the best screening because my screen was switched at the very last minute, so instead of being one of the giant screens as I planned, I was in a tiny little screen.
Okay.
My midnight screen was cancelled as well, which didn't make things any better. And the chaos just continued from there, because even past the credits, people were coming in and walking in front of me, so I wasn't in the best of moods by the time I actually got 20 minutes into the film. So I'm hoping an IMAX screening at the weekend is going to change my opinion, and maybe that was tarnished by that. But taking away what I did from it, by the time the film settled down, I wasn't as impressed as I wanted to be. But I'm hopeful. That my mind will be changed.
I'm completely with you that the whole cinema-going experience does have a huge impact on how you view a film. I know that I've had a few iffy visits, like you say, that have put me in the wrong frame of mind to watch a film. So I'm personally hoping that that's the case, because I came out of this film feeling revitalized with the franchise. I think I felt like a lot of people. I think after Jurassic World, I loved it, but again, it felt like retelling stories that had been told for a new generation. They did it in a spectacular way, but I thought that the storyline itself wasn't particularly creative, and actually that side of it is lacking, where you say there's things that have been omitted that could have been added into the film. But I felt like the one thing for me, or that I remember from the original Jurassic Park, and I think I touched on this in the article that we released this week, was the terror that comes across with dinosaurs. And I think that should be the key thing in a film about dinosaurs, is that it must be terrifying for these characters to have to deal with that. And I felt like that came across in this film much better than it did in Jurassic World. I thought that Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard were amazing again. I think both of them are exceptional actors, and they did really well with their characters. And there is a twist in it that I think could potentially take the franchise in quite an unexpected direction.
Very much so.
So I think I came out of it excited about the franchise and excited about where it could go afterwards. So that's my take on it. I don't know if you want to add anything else, Phil.
Oh yeah, I mean, just that obviously the ending does open up so many questions and so many different avenues. So it literally could go anywhere now, and that's an exciting prospect for the next one, to see where things are going to pick up from, and how the landscape is going to change. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can almost guarantee that they will be making a next one. I think it was always planned as a trilogy from the start, but they could just keep making more. They could end up having offshoots and things. So, yeah, I'm excited about it, and I really enjoyed it. I'm going back this weekend to watch it again. So, fingers crossed, I enjoy it just as much the second time round.
I'll echo your thoughts as well about the scary side of it. I mean, Steven Spielberg said that the end of this one was deliciously scary, and I have to agree with him. It definitely brings the suspense back to the end of Jurassic Park the way it's supposed to be. So, well played.
Sorry for cutting you out on that one, Kat. I know that you'll probably get a chance to see it in a couple of weeks. And actually, just for your benefit, the score is incredible. I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to it yet, but it is amazing.
I'm so excited to see it in a couple of weeks and to listen to everything. I am dying for some new Giacchino.
Yeah, there's a bit where they are underwater. The score at that point is mind-blowing. It's so good. So yeah, definitely listen out for that bit.
Excellent.
Okay.
Giacchino's good anyway, so Giacchino never has a bad score.
Moving on to our next segment, we're going to play a little game called Fake or Legit.
I used to be legit. In fact, I was too legit. I was too legit to quit. But now, I'm not legit. I'm unlegit. And for that reason, I must quit.
We are going to share some stories from films, film sets, or actors, and the other two of us are going to try and guess whether these stories are real or whether they're made up. So, Kat, we are going to start with you.
All right. So, tell me if it's true or fake, but on the set of Suicide Squad, Jared Leto sent a live rat with a love note to Margot Robbie as part of his method acting. And he sent a number of things to other people, but we're going to stick with the live rat for now.
That is definitely 100% true.
Now, I definitely heard that Jared Leto, I think he's well known for this method acting where he gets into character and doesn't get out. I've heard plenty of odd stories about him on set, but I have never heard of him sending a live rat before. So Phil, you think this is true?
I remember the article coming out, and they were talking about it on set, and it was they were all in stitches, but it was one of those disturbing hilarity moments. You're like, yeah, it was funny, but so yeah, I do remember the sit down interview, so definitely true.
Okay, I'll go with you on that one then. I've definitely heard of him doing lots of odd things, but never a live rat. So, Kat, is this fake or is it legit?
It is apparently legit. This really happened. A couple of the cast members have talked about it in interviews. And thankfully now we get a full movie of Jared Leto Joker, apparently, which I'm being very sarcastic because I do not want it. But hopefully
Thank
somebody...
God you said that.
Apparently he's writing and directing it as well, isn't he?
No.
That's going to be interesting.
Do you know what, Kat? When you said that, I genuinely for a second thought that you were excited for it.
Oh, God, no.
I think we're all going to have to disappear down a rabbit hole for 2 hours.
So, Phil, let's go to yours then. What's your story?
Okay, mine's a bit more in-depth, but in Jaws, Robert Shaw done the entire Indianapolis scene in one take after the night before going out on an all-night binge and being absolutely hammered when he came into work.
I really believe it. I believe it. I think it's true.
I know. I know there are a lot of issues on the set of Jaws. Obviously, being Spielberg's first major film, going over budget, going over time. So I could definitely see something like this happening. I could definitely see the control being lost over the actors and them just going off. And absolutely, Robert Shaw portrays that sort of character that you could quite easily see him going out the night before, turning up hammered, and then getting the job done. Yeah, Phil, I think I'm going to have to agree with Kat on this one. I think it is legit.
Well done, guys. Yeah, it is true. He came in absolutely hammered, and he filmed that entire scene in one take.
That is incredible.
Incredible. What a character. What a character.
Amazing.
I'd say you'd never get away with that nowadays, but clearly Jared Leto tries to push the boundaries as much as he can. So
he does go the extra mile, doesn't he?
Yeah. I'm going back a little bit with mine as well.
Here we go.
So, to try and capture the horror of being trapped on a spaceship with an 8-foot super predator, on the set of Alien, Ridley Scott hired a 7-foot Nigerian actor called, I'm going to absolutely ruin this pronunciation of this, but it's Balaji Badejo. And this 7-foot actor was brought in to portray the alien, because obviously they didn't have CGI like we do today. But to try and make him seem as alien as possible to the rest of the cast, he wasn't allowed to talk to any of the cast. He wasn't allowed to be anywhere near them on set. He wasn't allowed to sit down. He wasn't allowed to stay in the same hotel as them. He wasn't allowed to eat near them. And he had to stay in the alien suit the entire time they were on set, or to try and make him feel more alien to the rest of the cast. So essentially, he destroyed all of his human rights whilst he was filming Alien. So, do you think that is fake or legit?
Okay. I've got mixed feelings on this one because I remember watching these special features on the Blu-ray, and I remember seeing a guy in the alien outfit, and I remember him only having the hands on and the rest of his body was uncovered. So, I'm kind of on the fence. I could believe it happening, but Ridley Scott's not that kind of guy, so I'm going to say fake.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Phil on this because I remember I just encountered this story like a couple weeks ago with the image of him wearing only the hands, like you were saying. But I don't know, that just seems so cruel, to have him totally separate. So I'm gonna go with fake too.
Go on, Sam, fill us in.
Well, apparently, Ridley Scott was a complete jerk to him. He has done interviews afterwards saying how he was completely treated unfairly. He understood why, the reasons behind it, but he was treated awfully by Ridley Scott to try and give that alien vibe to the rest of the cast. And actually, when he was had to stay in his suit, the tail made it impossible for him to sit in a chair. So some of the crew had to construct a swing type thing for him to sit on. But this wasn't allowed to be near the rest of the cast. He really wasn't allowed to communicate with them whilst they were filming.
Wow.
So what a horrible existence that must have been for a few months.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect it from Ridley Scott. Surprising.
Yeah.
Obviously, the success of the film probably validated his decision, I guess.
I've got a bad feeling about it.
Quiet.
What?
We are now moving on to what I fear could probably be the start of World War III. We are going to try and get into the Star Wars controversies. Now, as everyone listening will probably know, Rian Johnson is now rallying against the army of trolls who've targeted Kelly Marie Tran, who played Rose Tico in Star Wars The Last Jedi. This has obviously forced her off Instagram, or at least she's deleted everything off there, due to the continual harassment of people who hated a fictional character that she played. And I thought I'd better stress that it is a fictional character that she played. And it's not just Rian Johnson. There are writers. I know people like Gary Whitta have got involved as well. Writers and employees at Lucasfilm that have got involved with this debate. So really our discussion here is what we think about what's going on, and whether we think that the employees of Lucasfilm should get involved with the debate online. So Phil, if I pass it over to you, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, well, as a editor of Future of the Force and social media manager, I see a lot of these tweets and a lot of these messages. And as much as I love Star Wars, we started this website for the fans, but at the moment it's a very toxic environment, the Star Wars universe, and for some bizarre reason, nothing seems to be off the table anymore. Whereas back in the day when we had the original trilogy, and even to the extent of the prequels, we never had this kind of backlash before. It was before the times of social media. I mean, obviously the reaction to Jar Jar Binks and the Phantom Menace, that was pretty drastic, and that changed George Lucas's entire opinion of the character moving forward. But having said that, he was never abused and harassed to a point where he doesn't do it anymore. I mean, I think that's part of the reason that he did walk away and sell it to Disney in overall, because he was looking at it from the perspective where he wanted to tell more stories, but if he did, he'll get attacked for it. And social media has opened that door, and it has nobody is invulnerable to it now, and everybody is a target, no matter what you do. If you have an opinion, I mean, Ryan Johnson was attacked for The Last Jedi vigorously. Claudia Gray was hounded off of Twitter, and she's a fantastic writer, but she was literally pushed off of Twitter completely. Freddie Prinze Jr. I've had conversations pop up on my timeline when him and his father's been abused. They're literally having a go at these people for having a role as a fictional character in Star Wars. Now, I love Star Wars. I've loved Star Wars for well over 4 decades, and we've just hit that point now where it shouldn't be happening, to a point where these people are being abused. And Kelly Marie Tran is a newcomer. She's quite fresh to the whole scene in the first place. I mean, and she was depicting a character which is supposed to be a fragile character, which has never seen this kind of harsh reality before, and she's being attacked for that. And I don't think that's quite right. Back on point, in my opinion, I don't think the writers or anybody else involved with Star Wars should be saying anything. I think the best thing to do is to actually be water off a duck's back, completely ignore it, because you're never going to please everybody 100% of the time. There's always going to be a certain range of people that are not going to be happy with what anybody does. So I think it's a case that you should just expect it. I mean, newspapers get bad reviews all the time. Restaurants get bad reviews all the time. Yeah, they don't come out fighting and drag people into a corner and say, stop saying this sort of stuff. It's a tightrope. You shouldn't be saying it. Nobody should be attacking people for a fictional character, and I don't think that anybody involved with Star Wars should be replying either. It should be just, don't give it any credence, don't give it any fan to fuel the flames. Let it all die out, and it will die out on its own in the end. Because if an argument goes nowhere, then no one's going to respond. So that's my opinion on it. I think it should just be left to die.
So this is just tragic. A very similar thing happened after The Force Awakens with Daisy Ridley, and she also left Instagram. She did not say that trolls and hateful comments were the reason. I believe she said that she was addicted to Instagram, and so she went off for her benefit. But she was receiving a lot of hate on there as well. And just to see it happening again to someone who is so truly delightful, both Rose Tico, the character, and Kelly Marie Tran are such beacons of light in this fandom. And to see people attacking someone like that is just heartbreaking. I think this is something that happens in a lot of fandoms. We've seen it recently in the Star Trek fandom with Star Trek Discovery, and there's been a lot of gatekeeping and a lot of racism and misogyny directed at the new series, for including our first black female protagonist, some homophobia against the first queer couple in Star Trek, but I think we've also seen it in Marvel Comics too. The writer for Mockingbird was driven off Twitter for some time for essentially having a feminist comic book. But I feel like because Star Wars is the largest fandom out there, I mean, it may not be literally the largest, but we get a lot of screen time, we get a lot of community stuff. Star Wars is very popular, and having it be under such a microscope of this fandom is just blowing the whole thing up. And it's very concerning to see, because I'm not sure how we can get out of this. It seems like our fandom is splintering, and it's really tragic. And about whether or not creators should speak out against this, I'm kind of on the fence, because I think, Phil, what you're saying makes a lot of sense, where if you leave it alone, if you ignore everybody, they're going to go away, because what they want is the attention maybe. But at the same time, I'm worried that they just won't stop, that if their actions are not condemned, then they'll just continue. So I think something that the creators have done so far, it's just standing up for Kelly Marie Tran and just re-emphasizing their love for her as a person and their support of her. I think that can be really beneficial, because I think there's something to be said for showing a united front. I think it's when the divisions get in that things get a bit hairy, like with this whole, dump Kathleen Kennedy or Ryan Johnson, or like, the whole thing that is happening with that right now. I don't know. I think we need to heal as a fandom, because these things are really concerning, and I don't want the hateful comments of these few individuals, because I believe that the majority of Star Wars fans are not like this. So I don't want the actions of a few to influence, the kind of movies that get made. I want to see increased diversity, like in front of and behind the camera. That's important to me, and I hope that these voices don't influence that.
Yeah, I completely agree with what both of you are saying. I think my biggest worry from it all is that I've had negativity from what I had previously perceived as quite civil people that would normally make a sensible decision in these sort of situations. I finally had to say something about it yesterday, where I was having quite a normal conversation about the state of Star Wars. Someone who very kindly listened to our podcast last week with our solo review, and actually we talked about where we thought Star Wars was going. And their response to it was that they didn't think, unless this hate came out for the characters for the films, that they didn't think Disney would listen. And I just think that's such a horrible point of view on the whole situation, that you don't feel like you're going to get heard unless you throw a strop or have to actually attack someone online. And it's bullying. It is straight up bullying. And I think, like you say, Phil, I actually think that's a very British way of thinking, of just let it brush off your back. But I do agree that actually standing up for what's right in this situation might be the right way to go. And I think after Ryan Johnson tweeted about it, we actually saw quite a lot of positivity online. A lot of people were encouraged by the fact that actually we're not going to put up with these people. And it did spread quite quickly over the last couple of days online, that actually quite a lot of positivity has come out of it. So I'm hoping that will continue.
Very much so. I mean, I found it amazing because in 2015, when The Force Awakens came out, fandom had never been more united than it was then. And then, so 2016 Star Wars Celebration, we're riding a tidal wave of euphoria. And now we've hit this year, after the Last Jedi, which has divided so many opinions, and now going into Solo, it's shocking to see the change. And now, so we were established as a website now as fans to bring our thoughts to the fans as well, because we're fans as well. And it's like seeing it all fall apart. It's not a nice thing. I just hope we'll reunify soon, because it's not a nice place to be at the moment.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Celebration, though. Obviously, I was there in 2016 as well, and you will never get a weekend like it where there's just so much positivity. And everybody is happy to chat about Star Wars, positive or negative, but you have civil discussions with people, and everybody's excited about it. And I know from talking, I was unfortunately, I wasn't able to get to Orlando last year, but I know from talking to people that it was exactly the same there. It's just one of those weekends where everybody gets together, it's all positive, everybody's excited about what's coming up. And actually, it was quite nice that the Celebration tickets went on sale this week and coincided with all of this, that, again, people could talk about that positivity and have something to look forward to as a fandom. We're going to look forward to Chicago next year, and that is something that we can kind of push as a positive thing, that we do have these events, and it's not just Celebration. There's lots of other events, like Kat was saying, where fans do get together, and even us now having this conversation, we do this because we love the films. But like Kat said, I don't know how it's going to go away. I don't know what we can do as a fan base to try and push these people out.
All we can do is keep writing with positivity.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep, spreading good stuff and our love for things. Like Rose said, we're going to win by not fighting what we hate, but saving what we love,
That's what we do best at Future of the Force.
Absolutely.
There's a 26% chance of failure.
How much further? I don't know, I'm not sure. I never really come this way, but we're close. We're close, I know that.
Well, now there's a 35% chance of failure.
I don't want to know. Thank you.
I understand.
This week we are going to do a Twitter poll, and we want to know your thoughts on the Star Wars controversies. So our question this week is going to be: should Star Wars writers, directors and employees engage with hatred on social media and try and combat that through their own personal accounts? So we will then share the results of that poll on next week's podcast. I'm actually quite looking forward to it, because even here, Phil's saying that maybe the best idea might be to just let it go and not give them the attention that they want. And I know that Kat's thinking that actually showing that solidarity in the fight against bullying and against hatred might be the way to go. So it'll be interesting to see what people come up with.
Definitely send your reactions back to us, and we'll promote them on Future of the Force and on Fandom Force podcast.
Excellent. Okay, so I think that just about wraps us up for today. Thanks very much, guys. I very much enjoyed discussing all of these topics with you today. Phil, where can we find you online?
Mostly, obviously, you can find me on Twitter at Future of the Force. We're also on Instagram and Facebook, or as a personal account, you can get me on @PhilTheCall on Twitter.
You can find me on Twitter at @CatLovesFilm, and it's Cat with a K. And then, of course, my writing will be on futureoftheforce.com.
Excellent. And obviously, you can find me at Sam P. Thomas on Twitter and Instagram. And make sure you're following Future of the Force on Twitter and Fandom Force Pod on Twitter to keep up and follow the polls that we'll be sharing there. And obviously, you can find out what all of our writers are doing at thefutureoftheforce.com. So thank you for listening. We will be back next week with our next episode. We'll see you then.